In the past 1.5 years, I've been very critical on brain retraining programs. And I tried to make a discussion, and I tried to do it from a scientific point of view, but I think I failed. People even asked me to stop. But 1.5 years ago, something happened that completely shocked me, and that changed my way of working also forever. And I didn't really feel like sharing this story because it's so painful. And therefore, if you want a feel-good story, then this video maybe no. My name is Daniel, and I help people recover from their chronic illnesses. But I'm also a trauma-informed therapist, and I combine these modalities together. So 1.5 years ago, I was still coaching people outside of the program because I thought that everyone had the right to experience a release, because that's the most empowering thing I think that you can experience in your chronic illness journey. So one day, there was a young woman coming to me for help. Along the side, she did a brain retraining program, and she had some short-term results with that. But lately, it didn't really work anymore. She was having extreme anxiety, panic attacks, extreme symptoms. But in order to push through that, she gathered online with hundreds of other young people to do many, many, many rounds of brain retraining every day. Because her coach said that she probably didn't do it good enough. So then when we dived inside of her body, it only took 3 minutes to uncover a very, very traumatic event. She was raped. Now, please don't worry that you have been raped as well, because the amount of people that I've coached who had this experience is still very, very small. But she was raped, and she had extreme emotions because of that. But in this traumatic experience, she blocked herself from the experience, and she had no conscious memory of this event. The emotions were stuck inside of her body, and resisting that was causing the brain to create symptoms, but also for her to be extremely anxious. Normally, in my work, I am able to make the clients who just discover this and who just reconnect with this terrible memory, to hold space for them, to make them process this. And it's not easy, but that's what I was doing. But with her, it became impossible. She started arguing with me that emotions are bad, that she shouldn't feel this way, that she shouldn't process it, that she should block it. Because that was what she had been learning in these brain retraining groups. And it was impossible for me, because it kept going to a discussion where I had to sort of tell her that these emotions are all right. From that moment on, I realized that emotional healing is not something that you have to do after brain retraining or on the side. Because we have to undo brain retraining for our clients in order to go in and to heal these terrible traumas. And there is a difference between trauma. This is a very big T trauma, but there is also some smaller trauma. But the process of resolving the trauma is always more or less the same thing. We need to hold space, and we need to express the emotions. In my years, I experienced something very similar. I did the lightning process. And in the lightning process, Phil Parker teaches everyone to stop you from experiencing what he calls a negative emotion. Now I know that there is no such thing as a negative emotion, but that's another story. So every time I stopped my emotions, I also became a little bit improved in the beginning, but after that I had a huge panic attack that lasted over 1 month, because you keep suppressing the emotions, and that makes it more extreme. Phil Parker had an incident with his wrist, I believe. His wrist was shattered, and he was a fan of playing guitar, and he was worrying that he could no longer play guitar. And that worrying started a negative cycle. And in that negative cycle, he discovered NLP, and he discovered how to stop this. Stop and just distract on something positive. And this helped him with his recovery. The thing is, however, that there is a difference between these physical problems, purely physical, and something such as chronic fatigue syndrome and long COVID and all these labels. And I know that there are many people telling you that this is a purely physical condition. But then why do they also tell you to avoid feeling your emotions? That's because when you just start to feel your emotions, your brain is going to create more symptoms, because it's basically wanting to protect you from not going inside. Stop, stop, don't go there. Therefore, all these methods in the past were all about avoiding emotions. And I do understand it from that perspective, but it's never really going to the root. Plus, the problem from a broken wrist and chronic fatigue syndrome is very, very different. And we can demonstrate in the release process that by focusing on an emotional state, you can amplify your symptoms. But also that by resolving this emotion, you can become symptom-free again. So I think for me, this is the biggest proof that this actually works. But in the past, I also read a lot of research telling us that whenever the brain experienced a frightening emotion, that it could create those symptoms. So I think the research and the experiences make it a very clear story. After my own experience with brain retraining, I also went to a therapist because of my constant panic attacks. And I also uncovered some of my own trauma. But the therapist was unable to deal with it because it was too extreme for her. Therefore, having a licensed therapist doesn't mean that you're going to have a good experience. Therefore, I think that everyone who does this work probably needed to have severe trauma themselves. Otherwise, they can't do it. But right now, what I see in the CFS recovery world is that there are a lot of malpractices. And that's actually a pity. I do understand that people want to make money, but it has to be done in a good way. Because what is going to happen is that we destroy this. If you just want to be a therapist tomorrow and you start doing emotional healing with someone and you're not prepared, then these stories will come to the outside world eventually. And what is going to happen is that this CFS world is going to be regulated, and then we are no longer to help anyone. Therefore, I think it's very important that there is a form of integrity, something that I'm missing right now. So actually, I hope that with this video, I can end this forever now that I've been really honest. So if you think that someone else might need this information, then please share this video with him or her. Also know that recovery is possible no matter how extreme your trauma is. Have you ever felt that your emotions were in the way of healing? Please share it in the comments below. Let's have a discussion. Let's see what everyone has to say. And let's get the discussion going, because I think this is a very important topic if we would want to, save the recovery world and keep on being able to bring hope to everyone. So thanks for doing that. And I wish you a beautiful healing journey.